Let's see. So, continuing. Excuse me. I need to switch my glasses really quickly. Continuing on, she says that Chinese parents can order their kids to get straight A's, and Western parents can only ask their kids to try their best. You know, I've known a lot of Western parents who have cajoled. I mean, they've cajoled and they've negotiated and they've tried to go in from the angle of being the friend rather than the parent. And you know what? They were lucky. Some of them did. Some of their kids did well. And the plus side to that, which I'm going to touch on more later in a subsequent video, is that their parents don't hate them for it. They were able to establish a relationship, a very, very rare and unusual relationship with their parents. These people are my parents. I know they love me. Sometimes they're not my friend. Sometimes they don't act like my friend, but but other times they can act like my friend. I never doubt that they care for me. The Tiger Mom strategy, well, you know, there's really no, you got some very unhinged people, emotionally, and there's really no surprise why. I mean, people are people. People need to be validated, reinforced emotionally. And unfortunately, the Tiger Mom methodology is not really about reinforcement. It's really just about beating something into someone. You do this, you keep on doing it, and you don't stop doing it until you get good at it. Chinese parents can say, she says in her article, Chinese parents say, you're lazy, all your classmates are getting ahead of you. By contrast, Western parents have to struggle with their own conflicted feelings about achievement and try to persuade themselves that they're not disappointed about how their kids turned out. Well, the funny thing is that I don't think a lot of Western parents are all that disappointed about how their kids turned out. In truth, I think a lot of, it's true, I think a lot of Western parents are slightly apathetic about how their lives turned, how their children's lives turned out, because they don't think it's as much a big deal that their kids didn't end up going to Duke or one of the other top 10 Ivy Leagues, Brown, Harvard, Yale, whatever, Cornell. They've been brought up on the doctrine that, I mean, that people are individuals and different people have different talents, and and you can go off into life and be independent after 18 years old and find your own value. That conversation never ever takes place in the Tiger Mom household, in your typical very traditional Chinese household. I'm in agreement with her. She says their lives are prescribed from the get-go. You're going to go to college. You're going to play piano. You're going to be the first in your class. You're going to get the grades. And if you don't do this, well, then that's ground for disownment or disowning. She says that Western parents are extremely anxious about their children's self-esteem. Yes, that's true. I remember growing up, I was envious about this sort of thing. I had a lot of Western friends, white Anglo-Saxon, German, Irish, Italian, not Chinese, basically. Well, not Chinese, not Korean, not Japanese. And something that always seemed to enter into the conversation was how the children felt about it, how the kids felt about it. Most Chinese parents don't give a crap, how their kids feel about it. They're just in the mode of they're going to do it. I don't care if I have to scream, yell, beat, abuse. They will do it by hook or by crook. But she says, Mrs. Chua says that Western parents are concerned about their children's psyches. Chinese parents aren't. Exactly. And then she goes on to say they assume strength, not fragility. And as a result, they behave very differently. I'm sorry. I have to disagree with that one. This is a point where I really do disagree. I don't think Chinese parents assume strength at all. They don't assume fragility at all. This never enters. The whole fragility and strength thing never even enters into their analysis. This is something that's just, I mean, they never even think about that sort of thing. Unfortunately, I'm of the slant that a lot of the tiger mom pushes her children not because she believes that they can do it. She's going to try and make sure that they can do it. She is going to see. This is the best way to squeeze as much potential out of my child as possible. She is not concerned about. She's not concerned about making sure that the child can see as much potential as possible, to grow as a human being as much as possible. What she is concerned about is making sure that child can get the marks, because it's a way of uplifting the family and perpetuating family honor. You know, it's as I mean, the stereotype is that that the Eastern cultures are much more willingly socialistic than those in the West. That the individual is the prime unit of concern in Western philosophy and ethics. Well, that's just not the way it is over in the East. In the East, especially in China, a child is effectively the sole property of the parents, of the family. Property. You heard me. I mean, going back, you always hear about families saying, when are you going to have your children? When are you going to get married and have your children? Well, it's especially bad over in China because not having your children is effectively tantamount to, well, betrayal. If you don't filial piety in what the Cantonese call haoking, you know, the Confucian precepts of you know, filial piety, having, you know, progeny is tantamount, is basically akin to immortality. It's the second best thing. Now, if you do not have children, you're basically killing your family line, and that's just completely unacceptable in this mentality. Whereas over in America, in the West, Europe, I mean, America especially, in the land of the free and the home of the brave, and and where the individual might can make right, the individual is free more or less to do what he or she wants, and so long as he takes the million stance of not infringing upon the rights of other people, well then, why not? He's perfectly fine. Of course, most people would prefer that their kids have children because they would like to have grandchildren. That's perfectly natural. But in Chinese philosophy, it's a given. I mean, it will happen. If you don't, you're not Chinese. And she says if a Chinese child gets a B, there would first be a screaming, hair-tearing explosion. Yes, that is absolutely true. I've not been I've experienced that firsthand. I remember I didn't just come home with B's. I mean, in middle school, oh boy. I mean, was it elementary school or middle school? I think it was middle school. I not only came home with B's, there were C's. I think one of those progress reports, I think they're called, yeah, progress reports, there were D's and F's. Oh yeah, that was those were some bad years. It's interesting, the kind of relationship that I have with my mom today. Chinese parents demand perfect grades because they believe that their children can get them. Okay, see, no. Again, this is not one of those things that I don't think ever enters into the tiger mom's mentality. She doesn't know whether or not the child can get them. She's just going to do everything that she can to leave no stone unturned to make sure that that her child will get them. It's an assumption on the Chinese parents' part that if the child doesn't get those A's, that the child didn't work hard enough or something is wrong with the system. But the solution is to substandard performance is always to excoriate, punish, and shame the child. That seems to be a recurring theme that I think by now is becoming a little bit tired to most people. And I don't have enough time, but this next point right here, which I'm going to circle and highlight, is really, really important, which seems to be, I think, kind of the backbone and the answer to why so many Chinese, why the Chinese condition is so, well, messed up in some people's opinion.